CORTIS has been called black cosplay, a Travis Scott ripoff, and a bullying scandal waiting to happen. They've also sold 2 million albums in less than a year. Both of those things are true, and I need to explain how. And I know some of you just groaned, because CORTIS fans are everywhere right now, and it can feel like the hype is being manufactured by Big Hit's marketing budget rather than anything the group is actually doing. I get it. That was my assumption going in too. But then I actually sat down and looked at everything. The music, the production credits, the LA sessions, the Tizo touchdown feature on their debut single, Martin producing tracks for TXT and Illit before he ever had his own debut. The fact that these guys were teenagers writing their own choreography, while most groups their age were still figuring out how to do a proper fan sign. And I thought, okay, there's actually something real here. Then the controversy started. The Christmas video, the gang sign allegations, the Jihoon is being bullied discourse, the cultural appropriation conversations that keep circling back every time CORTIS does literally anything hip-hop adjacent. People started calling them black cosplay. Critics said their music is just Travis Scott and Playboi Carti filtered through a K-pop machine. And that's where I want to start today. Because the controversy tells you more about what makes CORTIS interesting than the hype ever will. We're going to get into all of it. The music, the self-production, what makes them genuinely different from every other rookie group right now, why the cultural appropriation conversation is more complicated than most people are making it, and the Jihoon situation that had Chinese fandoms absolutely spiraling at the end of last year. But before any of that, I need to tell you something about where CORTIS came from that most people skip past when they're covering this group, because it changes everything. Big Hit Music has debuted 3 boy groups in its entire history. BTS in 2013, TXT in 2019, and CORTIS in August 2025. 6 years between TXT and CORTIS. While every other label was dropping new groups every few months, Big Hit sat on it. And when HYBE finally announced in April 2025 that a new group was coming, described as a next-generation creator crew, the K-pop internet did its collective thing where everyone stopped scrolling at the same time. The 5 members, Martin, James, Jihoon, Sunghyun, and Kyunho. Ages ranging from 16 to 19 at debut. The group name stands for Color Outside the Lines. Thinking freely, breaking away from the world's established standards, which yes, sounds like something written in a conference room. Except what came next was not conference room energy at all. Martin, the group's leader, is a Korean-Canadian artist who had been quietly building a production resume inside Big Hit's ecosystem for years before anyone knew his name. He has writing and production credits on Illit's Magnetic, TXT's Deja Vu, Miracle and Beautiful Strangers, Le Seraphim's Pyro, and Enhypen's Outside. These are confirmed, documented credits. Not rumors. You can check the liner notes. James, the eldest member who is Thai-Hong Kongese, co-produced Magnetic and Deja Vu and Miracle alongside Martin. He also choreographed the Magnetic viral dance for Illit as a trainee. He was a backup dancer alongside Jungkook during the 7 promotions. So when Big Hit said creator crew, they weren't just creating a concept. Martin and James had already shipped professional work under real deadlines for real artists before CORTIS existed publicly. The group flew to Los Angeles before their debut to work with hip-hop producers directly in those rooms. Their pre-debut single, Go, dropped August 11th. The choreo went viral before the official debut even happened. Then on September 8th, the debut EP, Color Outside the Lines, arrived. It debuted at number 15 on the Billboard 200, the second highest charting debut EP for a K-pop act ever. 250,000 copies sold on the first day. By 2026, 2 million total album sales. Only the second K-pop act to reach that number on a debut album. Second ever, as teenagers, on their first record. So the baseline answer to why everyone loves CORTIS is simple. They showed up with receipts. The question is what happened after that. The Korea Times reviewed the debut EP and described it as derivative at some points, inspired by hip-hop heavyweights such as Travis Scott, Playboi Carti, and A$AP Rocky. The bias list noted that Martin and James had really studied the source material. Multiple critics called it trap-influenced, rage-adjacent, genuinely aggressive in a way most K-pop doesn't attempt. Fans on X started calling CORTIS the Travis Scott and Playboi Carti of K-pop, usually as a compliment. And this is where I want to slow down, because that compliment has a weight to it that deserves more than a passing mention. Travis Scott is black, Playboi Carti is black, A$AP Rocky is black. The entire sonic world CORTIS is living inside was built by black artists, shaped by black producers, and rooted in black American creative culture that goes back decades before any of those individual names existed. And CORTIS is 5 Korean teenagers making a career inside that world, under a Korean label, being praised for how well they inhabit a sound that was not theirs to begin with. One journalist who covered the cultural appropriation conversation put it plainly. A lot of K-pop groups take from black artists without crediting black artists. And the history backs that up. Korean entertainment companies have been importing black American sounds since the 90s. R&B, hip-hop, New Jack Swing. The genre was built on that foundation, and it has never fully reckoned with what it owes to it. So when Cortis shows up making music that sounds like a Travis and Cardi collaboration, filtered through a big hit system, that history sits underneath every compliment they receive. Now here's the nuance, because it's not a simple story. Cortis went to LA and worked with hip-hop producers in the actual rooms. The behind-the-scenes documentary showed this. That is different from a label executive saying, "Make it sound like trap," and handing the brief to an in-house team. The members engaged with the culture directly, rather than just extracting from it at a distance. Martin and James have documented creative ownership over the music they perform. That's rare. The Tizo touchdown feature on What You Want matters too. Tizo was a genuinely experimental black artist who was specific about his collaborations. Him appearing on a K-pop debut single suggests a real creative conversation happened, not just a feature for clout. But creative engagement is not the same as cultural accountability. The question of whether Cortis is doing enough to acknowledge and credit the black artist who built their sonic foundation is one that their growing platform makes more, not less, urgent. And it's a question that doesn't get answered once. It has to be answered over and over, with every project, as the stakes get higher. I'm not saying Cortis is bad for making this music. I'm saying the responsibility attached to making it is real. And so far, they've made some of the right moves. Whether that continues is what actually matters. December 24th, 2025. Cortis posts a Christmas TikTok, members in streetwear. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, playing while they're clearly not doing Christmas things. It's a meme format that existed before them, and they were riffing on it. Then someone paused the video. Near the beginning, Martin is seen making specific hand gestures. Netizens began claiming the movements resembled signs associated with the Crips, one of the most well-known street gangs in American history. A gang with documented involvement in violence and crime in communities, predominantly black communities, primarily in Los Angeles. The black cosplay accusation attached itself to Cortis quickly. The argument was that this was another example of K-pop idols borrowing from black street culture without understanding the weight of what they were picking up. That you can't take the aesthetic of a lifestyle that has involved real danger and real loss for real communities and make it a holiday video vibe. Big Hit released no statement. Martin said nothing publicly. The video stayed up. The fandom split. Some fans felt the gesture was inexcusable regardless of intent. Others argued that Martin, a Korean-Canadian teenager, likely had no idea about the specific gang associations behind a particular hand movement. That you cannot reasonably expect someone to be a cultural expert in every layer of American street history, even if they're making music influenced by that world. Both of those positions have validity. And that's actually the honest answer here. The accusation was never conclusively proven. Martin never confirmed or denied. Big Hit's silence left the question open. What the incident did do, and this part is documented, was spark a wider conversation about how Cortis navigates the aesthetic they've chosen, and whether the education around it matches the enthusiasm for it. Nobody emerged from this situation looking great, and nobody got a clean resolution. It's still a chapter that reads as unfinished. I want to be precise about this one, because the way it was covered in most places did not reflect how serious some of the documented claims actually were. On December 12th, 2025, fans sent protest trucks lined up outside Hybe's Seoul headquarters. The messages displayed were specific. They were not just about ice cream or behind-the-scenes awkwardness. The protests cited documented incidents from Cortis's public appearances. At the 2025 Asia Artist Awards, Joohoon's solo performance segment was reportedly cut from the broadcast entirely. During two separate acceptance speeches, Joohoon was given a total of 2 seconds of screen time combined, and he was the only Cortis member who did not receive a solo fan cam focus during the red carpet segment. These are measurable, observable things, not fan interpretations of a glance or a body language read. A performance segment being cut is either in the broadcast or it is not. 2 seconds across 2 speeches is either the number or it is not. Beyond the award show, fans had been compiling evidence of unequal line distribution, reduced promotional focus, and limited inclusion in group content over several months. The protest trucks made those complaints formal and public. Hybe has not responded. Big Hit has not responded. Now there is another layer to this. Behind-the-scenes content from the same period shows dynamics that are harder to read. The ice cream moment with Kyunho, the hug challenge where Martin showed visible reluctance. These clips circulated alongside the more concrete complaints, and the two things got blended together in ways that muddied the actual argument. The viral response that called this bullying was probably an overstatement based on the casual content alone, but the awards show treatment is not ambiguous, and the fact that fans felt they needed trucks outside the building to get a response to documented promotional inequality suggests that internal communication between the fan base and the label was not working. Joohoon is currently the most popular member of Cortis by most metrics, which makes the idea that the label is deliberately sidelining him a strange strategic choice if true. But intentions aside, the documented evidence of what happened at the Asia Artist Awards is real, and it still has not been explained. Put all the controversy aside for a second, because when you look at what Cortis is actually doing as a creative unit inside an industry that almost never allows this, it stands out in ways that are genuinely worth paying attention to. Martin produced Magnetic, one of the biggest K-pop songs of 2024. He was a trainee when he did it. He also produced the debut EP's primary tracks. All 5 members have verified songwriting credits across the record. James choreographed Magnetic for Illit and co-produced multiple songs for TXT. He performed as a backup dancer for Jungkook during 7 promotions. When Rolling Stone interviewed CORTIS before their debut, they confirmed that management had given all 5 members real input into their music, choreography, and videos. That's not a quote from a fan page. That's a Rolling Stone interview. And the production credits on the debut EP confirm it. This matters because of what I've discussed in my videos about K-pop idols and creative ownership. The industry is built around performance, not creation. You execute what someone else made. The gap between performing and creating is where most idols get permanently stuck. The Korea Times Review described the debut EP as derivative and, in the same sentence, called it true to the music any 17-year-old boy would want to listen to or create. I think that's both accurate and kind. These guys are teenagers who love a sound and are making it with genuine creative investment. They're not pretending to have invented trap. They're saying, this is the music that lives inside them, and they want to make it properly. That honesty, combined with actual production credentials, is what separates CORTIS from groups that adopt a hip-hop aesthetic as a label concept, and then perform it with no real relationship to the source. So why does everyone love CORTIS? Because in an industry built on performance, they showed up as creators. Because their debut had real production receipts attached to it. Because the music sounds like music someone genuinely wanted to make, not music assembled to match a brief. The question for CORTIS going forward is whether they maintain the creative ownership that made them interesting in the first place as the commercial pressure scales up. History suggests that's the harder thing to hold on to, and their debut suggests they understand what's at stake. I'm watching. And I think the next 2 years are going to tell us a lot more about who CORTIS actually is than the last 10 months have. Drop your thoughts below, subscribe if you're new. See you in the next one.